Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are coming out later this year, which means we are about to experience one of the most joyous things that a Pokemon fan can experience: getting to meet brand new Pokemon. Gen 9 is sure to introduce a bunch of interesting new Pokemon for us to catch, and in today's video, I wanted to talk about the kinds of new Pokemon we could see in these games of every single type. What kinds of Rock-type Pokemon could we get? How about Dragon-type? We're gonna cover it all here, so strap on in and let's get to it. Today's video about awesome potential new Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet is being brought to you by today's wonderful sponsor, Friends and Dragons. Friends and Dragons is a free-to-play mobile game that blends combat, puzzle-solving, strategy, and collecting all into a really enjoyable experience. I tried it out myself, and first of all, the music is bangin', but the gameplay is really enjoyable too. You have heroes, which you can collect tons of, and they all have different abilities. You then need to strategically move your heroes around the map to maximize their abilities and take out your enemies as effectively as possible. The strategy element felt like a super, way more entertaining version of chess to me, and it was super easy to get the hang of, but also really fun at the same time. As I mentioned, there are tons of heroes to collect, so you can customize your team the way you want, and there's even a guild feature so you can hop in and play with other people. They even have a Discord server that's available to join, so you can get helpful tips and hop into the community right away. To download Friends and Dragons for free and to get in on the fun, use the link in the description below or scan the QR code on screen, and when you do, you're also going to get one free summon, daily energy potions, gold, and an exclusive offer, which is only available through my link. So check out Friends and Dragons today, and a big thank you to them for supporting the channel. Alright, so to start things off, since we've already got the grass, fire, and water types covered with the starters, I'm not really going to go into those types too much, although these are my designs of what their evolutions could look like, and if they turned out anything like this, I would be ecstatic. Full video on those evolutions can be found in the card on screen, by the way, if you'd like to check that out. But with the starter types basically taken care of, why don't we take a look at the electric type, since it's kind of like an honorary starter type in a couple games. That is primarily because of Pikachu and its role as a pseudo-starter, and speaking of the electric mouse, a Pikachu clone is one electric type we will definitely see in Scarlet and Violet. It could be based on any number of rodents, so that's hard to nail down, but ever since Gen 5, all of the Pikachu clones have been dual-typed, and have used Flying, Fairy, Steel, and Dark as their secondary types. So I feel like another dual-typed Pika clone is a good possibility, and if that happened, what type would you want to see represented? Let me know in the comments below. Speaking of Fairy, there are a lot of options for this type, as there are a lot of things you could use in a Spain-based region like Scarlet and Violet has to base a Fairy type on. I personally think Sprigatito's aforementioned evolution could be part Fairy type, and I also believe a Flamenco-based Pokemon, like this one I had designed for my recent April Fool's Day video, could be a Fairy type as well due to the whole music inspiration. There are also some fairy types that are based on food as well, and there are certainly a lot of local treats and dishes from Spain and the Iberian Peninsula that could serve as good inspiration for a fairy type Pokemon. Ghost is always an interesting type when it comes to new Pokemon, and there are some cool options here as well. Fuecoco's final evolution could potentially become Ghost type, and another possible new Ghost type could be based on the Rooster of Barcelos. The Rooster comes from a very famous local story where a man is about to be hanged, and when pleading for his life, he says his innocence is as sure as it is that a roasted chicken sitting on a nearby table who was about to be eaten will crow when the man is hanged. And sure enough, when the man was hanged, the dead rooster crowed, and the man's life was spared. Now, not only is that story interesting enough on its own, but it's even more noteworthy due to the fact that Junichi Masuda actually discussed this story in an interview once, and how it would make for an interesting Pokemon. So we know that it's already on the minds of Game Freak, and I think the Ghost type could be as good a type as any for a Pokemon based on this tale. The Fighting type, meanwhile, is basically the opposite of Ghost, and it's got some interesting possibilities of its own. There's the possibility that Quaxly's final evolution could gain this type for various reasons, but another option is a bullfighter Pokemon, possibly even based on a bull itself. Bulls and bullfighting are huge in Spain, so this most likely will be represented in some way, and frankly, a fighting-type bull Pokemon just makes sense. One type that fighting is strong against is rock, and for new rock types, fossil Pokemon are a likely option. Granted, the fossil Pokemon of Gen 8, for the first time ever, were not rock types themselves, so we don't technically know if this new region will have fossil Pokemon, or if they would even be rock type if it did. But I would say that it's probably pretty likely due to the presence of a good number of fossils that have been found within Spain, and also due to the fact that Galar's fossils were a very unique situation that was based on fossil excavation of the 1800s, where many species were incorrectly identified and reconstructed, which is what we see in the Galar fossil Pokemon. In Gen 9, I think the fossils will not only be there, but will go back to normal, and will most likely be rock type. Earlier, I mentioned the flamenco Pokemon I had made for an April Fool's video I did, but two other Pokemon I had made for that video were of the normal and flying types, and more specifically, were meant to depict the starting bird and mammal/rodent of this new region. This normal type is based on the common genet, which is a very interesting looking animal that can be found in Spain, which is why I think it could become a Pokemon, and possibly a normal type at that, given its general appearance. The flying type, meanwhile, could come in the form of a number of things, obviously, but this Pokemon I have designed is based on the Hoopoe, a unique looking bird that can also be found in Spain. Due to the feathers on its head being known as a crown, it is also based around the game of chess, as the modern version and rules of chess that we know and play today originate largely from Spain. So the idea is that this bird would start as a pawn and then evolve into a king, complete with its crown-like feathers. The interesting thing about birds, though, is that they can be more than just flying types, which is why I think the dark type could possibly be used by a bird as well. More specifically, there could be a dark type Pokemon based on the Spanish imperial eagle. This bird is native to the Iberian Peninsula, meaning that it's got a pretty good shot at becoming a Pokemon, but as it pertains to the dark type, well, just look at it. It looks very intimidating and is very darkly colored, and the name Imperial Eagle makes it sound very strong and almost villainous, so I could definitely see a Pokemon based on this bird going in the dark type direction. Next up is a 2-for-1 because we're going to be looking at both the bug and the poison type within one possible idea. Within pretty much the entirety of Eurasia, which includes Scarlet and Violet's basis of Spain, there is an insect known as the Spanish fly. With a name like Spanish Fly, it certainly could be a good fit as a new Pokemon in these games, but what's interesting about this bug is that it's actually a beetle, not a fly, and it also gives off a toxic substance known as cantharidin, which can be harmful, and apparently, according to Wikipedia, it even accidentally poisoned George Washington once. So, with all of that being said, I could certainly see this beetle, fly, insect thing as a bug type or a poison type, or possibly both in Scarlet and Violet. Moving along, the ice type was an interesting one to figure out, but what I landed on is something that I have already discussed in another video, the Cogatio. The Cogatio is basically a log with a face drawn on the end of it that is involved in a very interesting Christmas tradition where it poops out treats and gifts for kids. Given its uniqueness in Spanish culture and the fact that appearance-wise, it's just begging to become a Pokemon, I feel like it could be, and given its association with Christmas, just like our current Christmas Pokemon Delibird, I feel like, just like Delibird, this could also be an Ice type if it were to actually become a real Pokemon. One of the types you've probably been waiting to hear about is Dragon, and for the Dragon type, given the very nature of it, we're very likely to see some new Dragon Pokemon based on the various legends and folklore of Spain. As a part of Europe, Spain has its fair share of dragon-related stories within its folklore, including things like the Banyoles monster, which is basically like the Loch Ness monster, the Cuelebre, which is a giant serpent-like dragon, and also the stories of Saint George. Saint George was actually a real person, believe it or not, who is also considered to be Spain's patron saint, so he's a pretty important dude, and he's also got a famous legend surrounding him where he apparently slayed a dragon. So honestly, when it comes to the dragon type in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, any one of these stories could serve as inspiration for a new dragon type, and it'll be interesting to see what ends up ultimately happening. Okay, moving along, we have got 3 more types to cover here: Psychic, Ground, and Steel, and we're gonna start with Psychic. Psychic is tricky when predicting something like this, because Psychic types can really be anything. However, one significant subgroup of Psychic types are those that are not of this world, aka alien Pokemon. There have been a few UFO incidents in Spain that could serve as inspiration here, but one option that I think could be really cool for a Psychic type in this vein is an astronaut/spacesuit Pokemon, as the predecessor to the modern astronaut spacesuit was actually invented by a Spanish man named Emilio Herrera. I also think that that could make for an adorable Pokemon as well, so I feel like it should be an option. Ground type is yet another very broad type, but the option I have to present here is actually pretty self-evident, and that is the Iberian Pig. The Iberian Pig hails from the Iberian Peninsula, which is obviously the basis for the region in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. And you know, it's just kind of interesting that we haven't really ever had a roll around in the mud type of pig Pokemon, despite pigs being so well known for that. So a more traditional ground type pig Pokemon, I feel like is something that we're just due for, and with the Iberian Pig being native to this part of the world, I think it could be cool to see in Scarlet and Violet. And finally, we have Steel type. Steel types can be anything from inanimate objects to metal monsters to animals covered in metal, so it's another crapshoot type of scenario, but after doing some research, some interesting things I discovered is that submarines have a history in Spain, as one of the first electrically powered submarines was created there. and a submarine Pokemon could definitely be cool. There's also something from this part of the world that is known as Toledo Steel, which is a special type of steel that even comes with its own name, obviously, that comes from Toledo, Spain. When you make steel so good that they name it after your town, it's kind of a big deal, so I could see this having something to do with new steel-type Pokemon, and maybe a town based on Toledo could even be home to a steel-type gym leader. That would be a very nice subtle nod, so I'm interested to see what happens with the steel type once these games get closer to release. So there you have it. Potential options for new Pokemon of every type in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like and let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe as well if you're new for more Pokemon content, and with that said, I will be back with another new video very soon. Until then, as always, thank you guys for watching this one, I love you all very much, and I will smell you guys later.